How we doing today, neighbors? Ian with eTrailer here. Today we're going to be looking at the CURT Class III 2-inch hitch on our 2014 Toyota RAV4. Let's get into a couple features and then that install. And this hitch is going to be a great addition to our Toyota RAV4. This is already known as a very reliable vehicle and very widely used. It does have the roof rails on top, so you've got plenty of room up there, and you've got quite a bit of room in the rear cargo space. But if you're taking the entire family and you've got all the seats loaded up with everybody and the roof rack loaded up, you may want to throw a cargo carrier on here. You may have a small towable that you'd like to take with you. So this is going to take care of that issue and give you that extra space you may need regardless of what it is you're putting onto it. And this hitch is going to be boasting a 3,500 pound towing capacity and a tongue weight at 350. Of course, you'd always want to check your vehicle manufacturer specs to make sure that number's not lower, and go with the lower number if it happens to be. You'll see here with our hitch, we've got this paired with some 4-pole wiring. You could always have that with a 7-pole. Either way, it's going to be required by law if you've got any towables, so definitely something to pair with this. And if you're installing one, you might as well get the other one done at the exact same time. This does have a 2-inch by 2-inch receiver hole and takes a 5/8 pin. And the pin does not come with the kit, but we've got plenty of great locking options to help keep your towable or accessory secured when you're headed out to the campsite. It does feature this nice gloss finish to it, which, since this is a black colored vehicle, I would say it absolutely matches with the OEM styling of it. So even though it's not a removable type, you do still have a somewhat OEM finish to the rear of the vehicle. It's also got these nice big open safety chain loops that are going to work with your clevis or S-binder style safety chains. They're nice and open, so regardless of what you got, you're going to be able to get those on there. I've seen on a few of the hitches that they tend to mount them underneath, and it's a thicker metal. Makes it a little difficult to get those safety chains onto there and get those loops through. This does not have that problem at all. Very easy to access. And a couple measurements to keep in mind. From the center of our hitch pin hole here out to the edge of the bumper, we're looking at 2 inches, so that'll give you an idea of clearance if you've got an accessory that folds up, if it's going to make it and hit the back of the vehicle or not. And then last measurement I wanted to look at was from the ground to the top of our shank hole here on the inside. It's going to be 14 inches. So that'll give you an idea of ground clearance if you've got something that may sit down a little bit lower. And getting right into that installation, I wanted to touch on a few things. We're going to be bolting up to the frame on the bottom of the vehicle, and there's provided weld nuts already there from the manufacturer. We were able to extract a couple bolts that were there holding up different items, and those holes were fine, but we found that the other holes that were exposed to the elements have a high amount of corrosion in them, and we ended up having to tap those out. I'm going to walk you through that whole process of how to go through that, but if you watch it and it seems like something you don't want to try to tackle, please check out that dealer locator, because those dealers are going to have those specialty tools to be able to handle an older vehicle. But if you watch this and it feels like something you can do, I'm going to walk you through that whole process now. And to get this started, we're going to be coming underneath the vehicle. We've got this lifted up. You could do this on the ground. There's a set of plastics that normally live right here that have already been removed, so it may look a little different for you. It's going to have the same types of hardware as the other plastics we'll be removing, so you would just do that in the case that yours is still in place. But for us, unfortunately, we're just going to continue on from where we need to go. So these 2 center plastic pieces will need to come out. There are push type rivets here. You may have to get a small flathead to get underneath them and pull them out enough. And you will find as the vehicle ages and as dirt and debris builds up in these rivets that they may become pretty snug. So again, using that flathead is going to be the best option of just getting it started, and then you should be able to get the tool in back behind it. And that is supposed to come out as kind of a single piece, but this would sit further out. Again, with all that dirt and debris in there, you're seeing where it's causing the issue of that center tab to not come out. So sometimes you can just give a few taps on the rivet before you go ahead and get into it, and that may knock some of that loose. But we'll remove all 5 of the rivets on this one and then move over to the passenger side and do the same thing. And we'll set both of these to the side for now. Now we're going to be lowering the exhaust by coming to this rubber isolator at our axles here, but we will want to support that while we've got the isolator removed. And so we're going to find some good spots to put our strap here. If you need one of these straps, they are on etrailer.com. These are new to us, so we're getting those out to the neighbors. And we'll get good tension on it just at the moment. We're going to soak this isolator in some soapy water mixture. Now we'll go ahead and get that sprayed down. Then you can use a pry bar to remove this if need be, or one of these exhaust hanger removal tools. And this one we may be able to just do by hand. And with that slide off, we'll take a little bit of the tension out of our exhaust strap that we're using here, and then come back up to the second rubber isolator. Give that a quick spritz as well. And turns out we're going to end up needing a pry bar on this one. It's just too difficult to get the tool in there. And then once we've got that about halfway, we'll support that exhaust, remove that isolator the rest of the way, and get it down onto that strap, just making sure we've got good support so we don't damage any of the flex fittings up towards the front. On the driver's side here, we're going to have a recovery hook that we'll need to remove. There's going to be 2 17mm bolts that we'll need to take out. You may need to put a little penetrating lubricant on those. It's possible to just break them loose and then get a couple threads exposed if need be, and have that extra protection of the lubrication on there. And we will be returning this bracket to the neighbor. This is going to stay off. What we're going to be focused on down here is there's on each side a set of 3 holes that are pre-threaded. What I'm going to do is come back through all of those and run a bore brush up into them and some penetrating oil, because they're pretty full of road grime, and you can actually see this one's very, very rusted. So it may be a situation where we need to run a tap through it as well, just looking at them. We'll see if we end up needing to do that, and we'll talk more about that when we get to it. And the holes we're concentrating on are going to be the first 3 threaded holes. Now we've got the driver's side all cleaned up. Over here on the passenger side, you're going to find there's actually only 2 weld nut spots. The center third one's just a hole, so we're only going to be focusing on those 2. We're going to repeat that same process of getting those cleaned out. So we did find 1 hole on the driver's side that needed tapped, and then I'm going to be doing both of the holes on the passenger side. Unfortunately, they're just too rusted to even get the bolt to start to maybe where we could walk the bolt in and out and have it clean out. So we've got that well lubricated, not only on our tap here, but also up in the already threaded hole. So we're just going to work that up very slowly, and we'll go a little bit and then come back and go a little more and come back, and continue that process till we're all the way up through. And one thing while I'm fixing these holes up, I wanted to mention not everybody's going to have a tap and die set just sitting around. It's not a very common tool that a lot of people will buy. So what you can do, instead of getting that tap and die set, take that bolt that's going to be holding that up down to your local parts store, and they should be able to match that up with a tap that would work for this, and you'd either be able to rent it or purchase it from them, and they'll get you squared away. And then one good way to check after running that tap through there is just to take your bolt and by hand find those threads. And you should be able to thread that all the way up without any resistance. And if you find any, you can just go back, add a little lubrication, and maybe run that tap back up. But usually it's just some debris that's still in the way. Running some good penetrant and that brush back through there should be fine. But looks like both of these holes turned out just fine. And we'll give them one more good rinse with that penetrating oil before we go ahead and put the hitch into place. So, now we will need to make a little bit of room right here in the center of the fascia. It is detailed in the instructions of how to mark up the template, and we're pretty much just going off the center point. So just follow those detailed instructions in the instruction manual there, and that'll help you. And then to cut this, you can, since it's pretty thin plastic, you can either use some tin snips like I've got here, or you could even use a straight razor, like a box knife or something along those lines, just because it's very, very thin, easy to cut through. But we'll go ahead and cut this template all the way out. And then once we've got those two edges cut, you can either cut at an angle like this, and that'll allow you to get up to our top line, or you can kind of section it off in little pieces like this, and then just keep cutting off section by section. And we're just getting the majority of the plastic out of the way, and then we're going to come back with that razor knife and get this hole nice and cleaned up. And here's what our completed hole looks like after it's all trimmed up. Next thing we're going to do is take these two plastic tabs and just get those bent towards the rear of the vehicle, because we'll be sliding the hitch up in between them. Now we're going to take a bolt and then one of the conical tooth washers. That's going to slide over the shank of the bolt there with the teeth facing towards up into the hitch. So we'll just get this into place. I've got Joe here helping me. It's easier with two people to get this into place instead of trying to fight it. We will have to kind of grab the fascia and work that up in between the fascia. You just have to watch these tabs here and make sure they go down below. And with that hole lined up, we'll go ahead and finger tighten one of the bolts into place. Now we're going to go ahead and snug down that hitch. It is a 19 millimeter, so just ratchet those down until we're flush up against the frame here. Now we will need to go through and torque these all to the specifications shown in the instruction manual. If you don't have a torque wrench, you can either pick one up on etrailer.com or go by your local parts store and they should be able to rent one out to you. So we'll just run through both sides, make sure all of them are torqued to that specification. Now we're going to come back and put the exhaust back up. So just soak those studs and the isolators in a little bit more soapy water, and that'll help those slide back into place. We'll start with this rear one here, and then come over to our guy on the passenger side here. All right. So now we've got the exhaust hung back up. We're going to remove that strap we had supporting it, so we don't forget about that. And then there would be a plastic, again, like we had talked about, that would be living here. Unfortunately, this neighbor didn't have it, so we're not able to show that, but that would return back to place. This left side plastic panel did not need any trimming at all, so we've just stuck that back into place to be able to show that it'll be fine there. And then this right side, I wanted to show specifically where it's hitting, because you can actually see that this edge here is going to be what's the problem. So if we cut this triangular shape off completely just using those same snips that we cut out the piece of the fascia. That'll allow us to slide that back up into place. Again, just take less and keep working it back up. Once you've got it lined up, that's enough, and then you're good to go. Otherwise, if you start cutting out too much, you're going to end up with a bigger hole than you need. So just kind of trim away at this until you've got it to where it'll sit flush on the bottom of the vehicle. And you'll see here, that's kind of what I was talking about taking away a little bit at a time, because we'll still be able to use this front fastener holder, and we just need to trim off a little bit more here so it's not hitting the edge of the hitch. I wanted to just show, after we've got that all trimmed, you'll slide the face that is not trimmed up here back towards the rear of the vehicle, and then put that tab up over that, and you'll see got good clearance for that bar. So we're going to return all of our plastic keepers back where they belong. With all those panels back in place, that's going to be us squared away, and you're ready to hop back on the road. And that's going to do for our look at and install of the CURT Class III 2-inch trailer hitch on our 2014 Toyota RAV4. My name's Ian with eTrailer. Appreciate you watching.